Do you know what madness is? I looked at my portfolio statement last week and it occurred to me, honestly, that it should have been registered a few years ago. Americans are now sitting on $200 billion in gold investment. $200 billion. But to most people's disappointment, they made a serious mistake that cost them thousands of dollars or even intangible fees. I am not talking about people who lost money in 2023. I'm talking about people who make money and then watch it quietly erode by premiums, storage costs, and insurance premiums, who never budget. So today we are going to analyze in detail what is happening in the gold market, why your investment choice is more important than the actual gold price, and most importantly, which method really makes sense for your situation. Stay. The numbers in this video may surprise you. We're ready. Soon after, on the 27th of January, 2025, gold hit a record high of $5,151 an ounce. If you pay attention, you remember CNBC, Bloomberg, and your neighbors texting in before gold prices rose. You may not remember why it happened so quickly. A year. That is all. In 2025 alone, $89 billion flowed into physical gold ETFs. In the long run, $89 billion is more than the total GDP of about 70 countries. The influx of funds pushed global gold ETF assets from about $280 billion to a staggering $559 billion by the end of 2025. Here is what is interesting. If you are one of the investors and the price increase makes you money, that part is fine. But how to invest? That determines whether you keep those gains or watch a lot of money cut. That is the real story. It is not the rise and fall of gold, but whether you hold it the right way. Getting into a gold trader or shopping online makes you feel good because you have real gold. It really has a price tag. Here is what happened. Spot prices in the news show gold at $4,500 an ounce, which sounds simple, but you won't buy at spot prices. You bought it at a retail store and the numbers are very different. Take the American Golden Eagle, one of the world's most popular coins. What you see is an increase of $80 to $150 per coin above the spot. It is not a hoax. That is how business works. These coins have built-in production costs, distribution costs, and dealer profit margins, which are the real supply chain. But where it is interested, the premium on an ounce of gold bars is 3 to 8%, while the premium on a kilogram of gold bars is reduced to 1 to 3%. So, depending on what you buy, you've already paid 1% to 10% more than you see on the news. This is just the beginning. Then, transportation costs hit you. If you order online, the price is $20 to $50. In addition, some states have raised sales taxes by as much as 10% in places like California. But what about storage and insurance? That is where the real outflows begin. You buy $10,000 in gold and spend $10,400 to $10,600 just to own it. Now you can't just put it in a drawer and forget about it. Either you become the security system yourself, which poses a real risk, or you pay to store it somewhere. A bank's safe pays $25 to more than $100 a year. Professional vault storage brings you 0.5% to 1.5% of revenue annually. On a $10,000 position, $50 to $150 a year. And insurance. Another thing most people don't know is that if gold is stored in a bank safe, the FDA will not automatically insure it. You need separate insurance, which costs 1 to 2% of the value of gold each year. On $10,000, you LLC $100 to $200 a year. The purchase price for the first year is $10,600, and the ongoing cost is $150 to $350. $150 to $350 a year in the second to fifth years. 5 years later, that $10,000 investment has cost you $11,300 to $12,300 in total fees and premiums. Before gold fluctuated, this was a drag on your position of 13 to 23%. Gold is up 20%, and you want to take profits. It looks simple, right? Sell it. It is just not that simple. That is where people are really frustrated and where most investors realize they've made mistakes. First, you need to find someone willing to buy it. It is not as easy as pressing the sell button. You can open your brokerage app for clearing at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, as ETF does. You need to contact a dealer, sometimes multiple dealers, to get the best price. Because the dealer's quotation is not the current spot price. Is the spot price minus the spread. Physical gold is expected to be 13% lower than the spot price at that time. As the market weakened, interest rate spreads widened significantly. Some dealers will quote you 5% below spot because demand is weak and they are not sure when they will resell. And logistics. In fact, you have to give them the gold or arrange for them to pick it up. That means establishing a secure agreement. If it comes from your home, insurance and transportation will be applied again. If it is in the vault, you have to coordinate the search, which takes time. Best case scenario, you sell on Friday and get cash next Wednesday. The real world, it usually takes at least 7 to 14 days, compared with gold ETF. Do you want to sell? Open your app. Click Sell. It takes almost 90 seconds. Cash will enter your account within 2 to 3 business days, and then you can transfer it to any investment you want. But no one here really talks about it. I mean, no one can properly break this down because it makes the gold industry uncomfortable. If you are clearing an actual position, such as $50,000 or $100,000 in physical gold, you may need to call multiple traders. The first time you call, you may not receive an offer. The process can take hours. As you said, gold prices fluctuate. Spot prices can range from $20 to $30 or even $50 an ounce. Is there an ETF? You are locked into the price you see on the screen. Instant transparency. No negotiation required. I know a man who bought $75,000 in gold bars in 2023. When he tried to sell in the 2025 rally, the process took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of phone calls, transportation insurance, arranging treasury visits, and getting multiple dealer quotes. His worst offer was 2.5% below spot. His best offer was 1.8% below spot. What is the difference? A single transaction was $1,125. This is not a mistake, but an attempt to liquidate the cost of physical gold on a large scale. Gold ETFs exist for a reason, and the more I study, the better I understand why institutional investors, people who manage billions of dollars, mostly use ETFs rather than physical gold. Gold ETFs are funds that hold physical gold and split it into stocks on a benchmark. You can buy stocks. Like any stock, fund managers hold real bars in safe vaults. You never touch gold. You own some funds. The first thing people ask now is whether there is a fee. Yes, but let me show you the actual numbers. Spider Gold Stocks, ticker GLD. It is the largest stock with assets of more than $140 billion, with an annual fee of 0.40%. Of the $10,000 investment, you pay $40 a year. Transportation is prohibited. No storage. No insurance. There are no separate bills. It comes out automatically. And the funds are still worth your entire $10,000 because they represent the cost of value. Want something cheaper? eShares Gold Trust, ticker EAGU. The annualized interest rate is 0.25%. The same, $10,000, $25. Aberdeen Standard Skull fell to 0.17%. $17 a year. To be honest, when you buy physical gold, you pay $150 to $350 a year for storage and insurance alone. The most expensive major gold ETF is 0.40% or $40. Put $50,000 into physical gold and you LLC ongoing costs of $750 to $1,750 a year. The same $50,000 GLD, $200 a year. In the $100,000 position, physical gold is priced at $1,500 to $3,500 a year. GLD sells for $400. This happens before we even discuss the markup you pay when you buy and the price reduction you will suffer when you sell. Many people think the fee ratio, is very small, less than half a percentage point. Then, they stopped comparing physical gold. Let me be clear. I'm not anti-gold. I'm against paying unnecessarily for what you're trying to own. Here is the thing. When you buy ETFs, there is no trader premium. You pay exactly the same price as other buyers paid at the time. The bid-ask spread of large gold ETFs such as GLD, 0.01%, that is 1%. About IAECU, equally tight. Do you want to sell? Tap the button. Your cash will be in place within 2 to 3 days. Do you want to rebalance your portfolio because your allocation is inappropriate? Each transaction takes 30 seconds. For the long-term accumulation of wealth, the ability to rebalance is enormous. If you have $100,000 in gold and $400,000 in stocks are hit, and your allocation will drift. You want 20% gold, now 25%. Rebalancing with physical gold, it takes weeks, and you may have to pay a 2% fee and spread to sell one part and buy the other. Is there an ETF? You can rebalance in 30 seconds on Sunday night, if you like. Now, conversations usually get emotional. People say, but I want to hold gold. I want to know it is safe. I understand. There is a psychological element to having something tangible. It feels more real. But I want to ask you something. How safe is it? Let's analyze the physical gold storage options in detail. Option 1. Leave it at home. You buy a safe, good one for $1,000 to $5,000 and put the gold in. Now you have total control. No one can take it from you. No bank will fail. No fund manager can mismanage. This is yours. But you are now a security system. If someone breaks into your house, your insurance won't automatically cover gold. Standard homeowners policies limit precious metals, usually around $200 per loss, unless you get a special endorsement. If you have $50,000 in gold, you need separate insurance anyway. Also, be careful what you tell others. As soon as the news came out, a family robbery around gold was about to happen. I brought up the Brinks Mat robbery in 1983 for a reason. On the 26th of November, 1983, a crew member broke into a security facility near Heathrow Airport. No house. Professional safety vault. They stole side pound 26 million and 6,800 bars. Even professionals can be vulnerable. Option 2. Bank safe. That is the choice of many. Your bank keeps it in their vault. Climate control. Safe. You feel good. But here is what the FDA wants you to know. The contents of your safe are not covered by the FDIC. This is a very common misunderstanding. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation insures your savings for up to $250,000, but not the contents of the safe. You need to insure separately, unless you negotiate a higher limit. Insurance typically limits coverage to $1,500 to $2,500. As we discussed, it costs 1 to 2% a year. Bank access is limited to business hours. If you need gold on Saturday or Sunday in a financial emergency, you won't get it. Historically, this may sound paranoid, but it did happen, with the United States confiscating gold during the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt issued Executive Order 6102 in 1933, forcing people to turn over gold to the government. Will that happen again? Probably not in today's environment, but that has already happened. That is history. Option 3. Specialized vault storage. Larger investors use this approach. You send gold to a vault company and they protect it, insure it, and you get a report on your gold holdings. It is safe, probably safer than your house. But it costs 0.5 to 1.5% a year. Remember, there is also counterparty risk. You have to rely on the vault company to remain solvent without any management problems. Now let's talk about gold ETFs and securities. When you buy gold ETFs like GLD, gold is stored in vaults. Not just any GLD vault, but the HSBC vault in London also holds it. Professional management. Insurance. Insurance is included in your 0.40% annual fee. You don't need to schedule anything. You don't have to worry about safes or family safes, and you don't have to pay extra premiums. It is all done. Risk is counterparty risk. You depend on whether HSBC is bankrupt and whether fund managers are fraudulent or mismanaged. Is this a real risk? In theory, yes. In practice, I think big global institutions like HSBC, big custodian banks, and publicly traded ETFs may be less likely to fail catastrophically than individual homeowner safes or smaller vaults. But I understand that if you want to completely eliminate dependence on any third party, you need physical gold. The honest truth is that there is no perfect answer to the safety question. Each option is weighed. Physical gold at home provides maximum control, but there are personal safety risks. Safe boxes provide professional protection, but bank counterparties are risky. Access is limited and insurance is not automatic. Professional vaults provide professional security, but vault counterparty risk and ongoing costs. Gold ETF provides professional security, fund, and custodian risk. Completely let go and the lowest cost. Which one works for you depends on your risk tolerance, the size of your gold allocation, and how much you value convenience. Well, here people think they're going to find a huge advantage for one side or the other. They think, oh, if I had physical gold, the tax situation might be better. I think so, too. It is not true. Here is the actual tax treatment. Physical gold and gold ETFs are classified as collectibles by the IRS under Article 409 of the Code. This means that when you sell at a profitable price, your long-term capital gains will be taxed at a maximum rate of 28%. By contrast, if you own shares and hold them for a long time, the maximum capital gains tax is 20%. For bonds, that is 20%. For gold, 28%, including physical and ETF. If you hold a position for less than a year, you pay regular income taxes for both positions. That is 10% to 37%, depending on your tax bracket. Suppose you buy $50,000 of gold in 2025 and sell $60,000 in 2026. You made $10,000. At the 28% tax rate, you owe $2,800, whether you hold physical gold or ETFs. Either way, you owe $2,800. Now, here is where it gets more nuanced. Some gold ETFs that use futures contracts rather than hold physical gold, such as Invesco DB Gold Fund and ticker DGL, have different tax treatment. They are subject to the so-called 60/40 rule. 60% of income is taxed at the long-term capital gains tax rate and 40% at the general income tax rate. no matter how long you hold it. But most major gold ETFs, GLD, IAU, and SKOL, hold physical gold, so they are considered collectibles just as you own gold bars. Here is what this means in practice. If someone tells you that physical gold has a tax advantage, they're not accurate. The tax bill is almost identical. The only tax advantage may be that if you put gold in a self-directed IRA, the proceeds there may be delayed and tax-free, or deferred taxes may be increased, depending on whether it is a traditional structure or a Roth structure. But this also applies to physical gold and some gold ETFs of the IRA. Don't let tax treatment be the deciding factor. There is no obvious difference between the two options. Okay, so we've covered costs, liquidity, security, and taxes. Now, the real question is, which one should you have? The problem is, I'll give you a less satisfying but more honest answer, as the case may be. Scenario 1. You are a buy and hold investor with a term of 10 to 20 years. You won't touch gold for a long time. You have $30,000 to $50,000 to invest. You're happy with the idea of physical storage? Maybe you have a home safe or use a vault service. In this case, physical gold may actually make sense. Here is why. After 15 years, your ongoing costs become less important than your total return. If gold rises 5% a year, you will get a good return in 15 years. A 1.5% annual storage cost is annoying. But if gold rises 100%, you are still far ahead. When you have a long time horizon and huge benefits, costs don't matter. But that is important, and you need to be prepared not to touch it. When you want to liquidate and rebalance, poor liquidity becomes a real problem. Scenario 2. You want gold exposure, but you may want to adjust your position over the next 5 years. This is where gold ETFs are very meaningful. You have professional management, insurance, secure storage, and if things change, you can quickly adjust your position. Holding a $30,000 position at IAU costs $75 a year. Physical gold costs between $450 and $450 a year to store and insure. 5 years later, that is the difference between $1,875 and $3,825. If gold rises 25% in 5 years, you will get a return of $7,500. The difference of $3,825 is reasonable, with about 51% of the profit going to expenses. Not you. Scenario 3. You want to convert the average cost into dollar gold through regular monthly donations. It is simple. Gold ETF. Each month, you buy $500 or $1,000 and increase your position. For physical gold, you pay dealer premiums, freight, and possibly sales tax each time. With ETFs, you don't have to pay a premium, just market prices and annual fees. In 10 years of giving $500 a month, you've invested $60,000. If you buy physical gold, you may pay an upfront premium of $2,000 to $3,000 for all purchases. Is there an ETF? The total cost is about $600 to $800. Scenario 4. You want to be completely independent of the financial system. Well, that is what Prepper does. You really believe in some level of financial system risk. What you want is the gold you own directly, which no institution can get and no counterparty can take away from you. In this case, the physical gold in your home is your answer. Accept the cost. Accept the lack of liquidity. This is the price of peace of mind. There is nothing wrong with that. Some argue that independence is worth the price. Here are my practical suggestions. If the gold allocation is less than $25,000, just use ETF. The cost difference is too obvious. The liquidity is good, the cost is low, and the headache is small. Between $25,000 and $100,000. You may still prefer ETFs, but you can justify the hybrid approach. Perhaps 70% of ETFs are for liquidity and flexibility, and 30% for a sense of entity and independence. more than $100,000. It makes more sense now that you can afford professional vault storage. You can make 50% ETFs and 50% physical vaults. You get the liquidity of ETF side, the security and tangibility of physical side. Here is the broader point. Cost matters because gold is omnipotent. This is beyond your control. But what is the cost of owning gold? Everything is under your control. Controlling costs is one of the surest ways to increase real wealth for 5, 10, or more years. I want to shrink because the gold market itself is actually interesting now and understand why this is important to your decision. In January 2025, gold hit $5,151 an ounce. We are now in May 2026, and the price is around $4,577. As a result, it has fallen from its peak, but is still up sharply from a few years ago. What is the reason for the surge in gold in 2025? $89 billion in ETF inflows. This is not a small investor. This is institutional money. And people who manage billions of dollars think gold exposure is justified. Why did they do that? Geopolitical tensions. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine shows no signs of ending. Trade disputes are heating up. Central banks, especially in developing countries, are buying gold reserves. Frankly, confidence in monetary stability is losing. This is the current gold tailwind. This is not speculation, but a real macro concern. But here is what happened. If you want to benefit from this headwind, you need to actually maintain your income. That means focusing on costs. Mr. Sprott just released a report analyzing gold's performance during major crises since 2007. Here is what they found. During the global financial crisis, gold returned 25.61%, 25.12% during COVID-19, 126.87% during the war between Russia and Ukraine. When things become uncertain, gold rises sharply. But if you don't T-position it effectively, if you pay 1.5 to 2% of your annual deposits and insurance while waiting for the next crisis to prove gold right, you eat it even before the crisis. This is the intangible cost of inefficiency. Most professional advisors recommend 10 to 15% gold in the portfolio. Some say 5%, others say as much as 20%. The point is that, for most people, gold is a meaningful allocation, but not your entire portfolio. But if gold makes sense, say $50,000 or $100,000 or more, then the way you hold it really matters to your long-term wealth. A $100,000 gold position costs $1,500 a year, and $30,000 has been wasted over 20 years. A $100,000 gold position costs $200 a year and $4,000 over 20 years. What about the $26,000 difference? That could be another year in your life without a job, which could be the difference between retiring at 62 or 65. It is not hyperbole. It is math. Well, let me give you a practical framework, and if I start from scratch today, I'll use it. First, know your time frame. If you are under 5, ETFs are almost certainly the right choice. Second, understand the size of your allocation. The larger your position, the more meaningful professional vault storage will be. But before you exceed $50,000, ETFs may be more efficient. Third, understand your psychological needs. If you really need physical gold to feel safe, that makes sense. Pricing. Budget 1.5 to 2% of the annual cost and accept it as a reassuring cost. Fourth, incorporate tax efficiency into planning. Because gold is considered collectible, make sure your other investments offset that. The Max Out Tax Deferral Account strategically uses the top tax rate of 28% in the overall tax plan. If I were building a gold position now, here is what I would actually do. If I had $10,000 in gold, I would put it in an ETF. That could be the cost of IAD. The 0.25% rate is clean. If I had $50,000, I would be 80% ETF and 20% physical gold. The ETF side gave me liquidity, and the physical side gave me real peace of mind. If I had $200,000, I would be 60% of the ETF, and 40% of the ETF would be stored in a dedicated vault with allocated storage space. Now, the size of the position justifies the cost of the vault, and I have a truly diversified custodian. But the key principle running through it is this: minimize what you can control. Gold prices. It is beyond your control. Global economic, interest rate, geopolitical tensions. It is beyond your control. But what about fees and storage costs? Completely under your control. The gold market will get what it wants. The question is whether your positioning is effective enough to actually benefit from it. To be honest, this is what most people miss when they make this decision. What they care about is whether gold will rise, and they should care about how much earnings they can actually keep. If the video changes your view of the gold strategy, click the subscribe button. There are many other sources where financial decisions may seem simple, but over time, they actually have a huge compounding effect on your wealth. If you have any questions about your specific situation, please leave a message. I tried to read through and answer thoughtful questions. If you already own gold in one of these ways, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious about how many people really realize how much they pay each year. Thanks for watching. Don't waste your money on the wrong choices.